M.C. Higgins the Great, winner of the Newbery Medal, written by Virginia Hamilton. Chapter 1. Mayor Cornelius Higgins raised his arms high to the sky and spread them wide. He glanced furtively around. It was all right. There was no one to see his greeting to the coming sunrise. But the motion of his arms caused a flutter of lettuce leaves he had bound to his wrists with rubber bands. Like bracelets of green feathers, the leaves commenced to wave. MC, as he was called, felt warm, moist air surround him. Humidity trapped in the hills clung to the mountainside as the night passed on. In seconds, his skin grew clammy. But he paid no attention to the oppressive heat with its odors of summer growth and decay, for he was staring out over a grand sweep of hills whose rolling outlines grew clearer by the minute. As he stood on the gallery of his home, the outcropping on which he lived on the mountainside seemed to fade out from under him. "I'm standing in mid-air," he thought. He saw dim light touch clouds clustered behind the eastern hills. "Bounce the sun beside me if I want." All others of his family were still asleep in the house. To be by himself in the perfect quiet was reason enough for him to wake up way early. Alone for half an hour, he could believe he had been chosen to remain forever suspended, facing the hills. He could pretend there was nothing terrible behind him, above his head. Arms outstretched, picture framed by pine uprights supporting the gallery roof, he was M.C. Higgins, higher than everything. M.C. smiled. "Going to be my best day," he told himself. He let his arms fall and sniffed a bracelet of cold, fresh vegetable. He bit gently into a lettuce stem, pulling at it until he had an entire leaf to chew. "Will it really be mine, this mountain?" "Daddy says it will be one day." He loved the mountain, its long, lingering dawns, but he frowned, squinting off at the hills with night still huddled in their folds. "Now it won't ever be mine." He shivered as with a sudden chill and stepped off the gallery. "Pay no mind to what Daddy says. We have to leave it," he said softly. "And that's a shame." MC walked quickly to the edge of the outcropping where tangled undergrowth made deep shadows. He avoided looking at the side yard with its burial ground covered with car junk and his prize like no other. "See it later," he told himself, thinking of the prize. "See it when the sun is making it shining." Slipping through the undergrowth, he took one of the paths down the mountainside. Soon he was striding swiftly through piney woods. The leaf bracelets wafted on air as though in flight as he plunged and wove among the trees. MC was barefoot, wearing carefully ironed blue jeans and a brown faded t-shirt. The shirt was the color and fit of a second skin over his broad shoulders. Already he was perspiring, but his motions remained lithe and natural as he moved easily among trees and shade. Pushing through pine boughs, he continued on his errand. "Bet I haven't caught a single rabbit, just like on Thursday and Saturday, too." He had to check all 3 of his rabbit traps and then get home to wait for this new dude to arrive. They were saying in the hills that some new kind of black fellow had come in with a little box of a tape recorder. All slicked down and dressed to kill, they were saying he was looking to put voices on the tape in his box. And now MC knew how he could get around his daddy and get his mama and his brothers and sister off the dangerous mountain. The idea had come to him after he heard about the dude. 2 days ago, greeting the sunrise, there it began in his mind, growing and growing with each new day of light. "Dude gonna make mama star singer like Sister Baby on the radio," MC thought. "We'll have to travel with her. Won't that be something?" but Mama is better than Sister Baby. He'll make her the best anybody ever heard. The dude had already been told about MC's mother and the kind of voice she had. What if he gets to home when I'm gone? No, too early for him. He'll have to walk it, MC thought. Probably lose himself about twice before he makes it up the mountain. MC lived 3 miles inland from the Ohio River. His rabbit traps were strung out at the edge of a plateau between Sarah's Mountain, where he lived on the outcropping, and a low hill called Kill's Mound. On the mound lived the Kilburn people, whose youngest son was the same age as MC. MC smiled to himself as he moved like shadow through the damp stillness. Ben Kilburn was just his age, but only half his size. MC was tall, with oak brown skin like his mother, yet he was muscular and athletic like his father. He had a hard strength and grace that helped make him the best swimmer ever to come out of the hills. The first time he had tried to swim the Ohio River, a year and a half ago, he almost drowned. His father, finding him exhausted, vomiting on the riverbank, "You think that river is some mud puddle you can wade right into without a thought?" And then his father beating him with his belt. "A boat wouldn't go into that water not knowing how the currents run. Whack! I'm not saying you can't swim it. Whack! As good a swimmer as you are. Whack! But you have to study it. You have to practice. You have to know you're ready. Whack! 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 I'll even give you a prize, anything that won't cost me to spend some money. Wham!" MC left the path and plunged into weeds of ginseng and wild daisy in a clearing. Standing still a moment, he searched until he spied the first trap half hidden. Cautiously, he picked his way toward it, for he had placed the trap at the edge of a long, narrow ravine. Across the ravine was Kill's Mound, but he could hardly see it. An abundance of trees grew up from the bottom of the ravine, blocking his view. He couldn't glimpse the Kilburn land, or houses and barns at all. MC stopped again. He gave off a soft call, cupping his hands tightly around his lips. He pitched the call high enough to make it sound like a young turkey gobbling. He remembered that when he was a child, out with his father, they often came upon a whole flock of wild turkeys. Now all such birds were rarely seen. MC listened. Deep in the ravine, there came a soft answering sound. A yelp of a hound puppy nipped on the ear by his mama. Ben Kilburn was there waiting, as MC figured he would be. And after MC checked his traps, he would have time to spend with Ben. Calling like birds and animals wasn't just a game they played. It was the way MC announced he was there without Ben's daddy and his uncles finding out. MC wouldn't have wanted to run into the Kilburn men any more than he would want his own father to know he was playing with Ben. Folks called the Kilburns witchy people. Some said the Kilburn women could put themselves in trances and cast out the devil. Kilburn men and women both could heal a bad wound by touching, although MC had never seen them do it. Boys scattered around the hills never would play with Ben. They said it was because he was so little and nervous. But MC had played with Ben from the time he was a child and didn't know better. When he was older, he had been told. Now he guessed Ben was like a bad habit he couldn't break and had to keep secret. The traps MC made were a yard long, a foot high, and a little more than a foot wide. He had put them together from scraps of wood and chicken wire. Better soon take them apart, he thought. Stack them so we can move. He checked them. Not a one of them is sprung, he said to himself. Peering through the chicken wire, he saw that his lure of lettuce was still in place and rotting from 2 days of heat. The animal trails took the rabbits through the weeds into the ravine where they drank a stream and on to Mrs. Kilburn's large vegetable gardens. Maybe her greens have gone sour, MC thought. Not one rabbit came close. Disgusted, he held the raised trapdoor in place. He reached inside and tore lettuce loose from the first trap. He threw the rotting lure as far as he could into the ravine. Cleaning out the other 2 traps, he took fresh lure from his wristbands. Just a waste of time, he thought, shoving lettuce into the traps. But I'd sure like to taste some wild meat. Finishing the chore, MC fluffed up weeds where he had trampled them down, making the traps less obvious. Then he stared down into the ravine, grabbing hold of a wood post of a vine bridge. The bridge hung across the ravine to a landing on Kill's mound. My bridge, MC thought. One time, he had kept on thinking about how often Ben's mother had to climb up the side of the ravine to go any place. Usually, she carried one of her babies on her hip. Slowly, it had come to him what could be done. Vines are thick, he told Ben. You get your daddy and your uncles to cut them and make a weave. He told Ben that wood posts had to go in solid ground on each side of the ravine. He told how to soak the vines, then loop them at the top and bottom of each post, and how to weave the vines so they'd stay tight, how to tie them. I figured it, MC thought, admiring the simple lattice weave of the bridge. Only one trouble. Ben was so used to living the same, he hadn't trusted a new way of doing. It had taken Ben forever to make up his mind that MC knew what he was talking about. When he had finally told his father, Mr. Kilburn dropped everything and set to work making the bridge. Stretching himself out, MC held on to the post for as long as he could. Then he let go and plunged, running, sliding and falling down into the ravine. He had to keep watch for patches of seepage, which dried up in one place only to form again in another. The patches could be soft and muddy or bottomless like sinkholes. Growth covering them was yellow, green, or black with rot. Either way, MC thought, each is trouble. He made it down the ravine without any danger to himself and into the midst of it, where the stream gurgled along. Something swished over his head. MC ducked in a crouch. He smiled and turkey gobbled softly. Staying down, he craned his head up and around to see. Ben Kilburn had come swinging out of the trees on the opposite side of the ravine, his hands and legs spidery tight around a strong old vine. He swung back, swishing through the air some 4 feet above MC's head. Hurry up! Ben silently mouthed the words as he glided, rising into the trees on the Kill's mound side. The ravine was an ancient place, with trees taller than most others over the hills. Once there had been a river through it. Ben's grandmother remembered all about it. She'd put on her bonnet and ride that river meandered to the town of Harriton, near the Ohio River. Now there was only the stream and seeping wetness. Because the trees grew so huge, MC suspected that the river still flowed underground. Not only were they massive, but they were entwined with vines as thick as a man's arm. Maybe the vines were poison ivy grown monstrous from Kilburn magic. MC liked the idea of witchy vines. Funny, they never caused me to itch. Or Ben either. The vines tangled up and up to the very tops of the trees. They connected with other vines and other branches, forming a network that shut out hard sunlight. Dampness became trapped with heat, causing fog to hang eerily just above the ground. Wouldn't want to be caught down here in the night, MC told himself. He shuddered, picturing vines reaching for him and looping themselves around his neck. MC jumped over the stream and headed for Ben, waiting on a high branch. Ben's unsmiling face was pale yellow and always looked slightly peaked. He had shocking red hair, thick and long. All of the Kilburn children had the same hair, in varying shades. As MC came nearer, Ben's gray eyes lit up. He grinned, showing small pointed teeth. He straightened his knees, then bent them as he would jump for joy. MC always felt bigger and strong around Ben, like he wasn't just anybody passing by. He was MC, and a show of examining the vine he would use. While hung down the side of the tree trunk, he grabbed it above his head and braced his feet against the trunk. Leaning far back, he tugged hard on the vine. Positive it would hold his weight, he walked up the tree and climbed onto the branch next to Ben. The branch twisted horizontally from the tree, searching for sunlight. To balance themselves, the boys had to stand still and hold tight to their vines. For a moment, they stared at one another in silent regard. And that is our 15-minute time window. I hope you enjoyed this portion of MC Higgins the Great, Chapter 1, 15-minute reads. Remember, if you choose to read ahead, don't spoil it for everyone else. Stay tuned for next time. You may also check in the comments for essential questions. Take care until next time. This is Miss J.